Hello, hello, welcome to this week's Wave of Action chat with Matteo. We've just been talking about the the universal credits that they're bringing in and how it would affect underworkers if you earn less than £220 per person, 440 a couple. So what they're proposing is that you have to be going to the job centre like you're unemployed, you have to work-based interviews and all that sort of stuff. And if you turn down free jobs, your housing benefit and your tax credits can be stopped 100% for 3 years. I was talking to a woman from the job centre about it, and she was saying to me, what about job centre staff that only work part-time? Would they have to sanction their own? And we were just talking about what kind of trouble they'd have on their hands when the employers have to start sanctioning each other. Would that be the point, that the Department of Work and Pension actually sided with the people?
I mean, that would be an amazing thing. I think that would be actually quite incredible. I think that would be a massive benefit to the people. But what we're also saying is that, of course, in standard fashion.
Watching too here. Sorry, carry on, Matteo.
No, I'm just going to say, in standard fashion, you're never going to get them talking about tax avoidance and dealing with tax avoidance in the same sort of anger and vigor that they're going to talk about cutting out any money that the poor are going to get, or any money that ordinary people are going to get. Because we're not just talking about now what people used to refer to the underclass. We're not talking about people that are down and out and don't actually have a job and are fighting for their very existence at this point. We're talking about people that are in a decent job. They make a bit of money, that are trying to pay their way, they're trying to get up the ladder and so forth, and the government is now targeting these people again for the sake of trying to scrap together the best amount of money as possible. They're attacking the biggest group they can, and obviously the weakest group, moving up the ladder, attacking people that have a little bit more money, and then eventually that's going to move up to the middle classes in society and all the rest of it, obviously, to plug up the hole that the jet set, or the super rich in society, are making because they refuse to pay the pittance that they owe.
Do you not think that that would be it will be the end of lower income families being able to look after their children? Because if a couple has to earn £440 a week, a lot of low-skilled jobs do not pay that, anywhere near that. How are these going to? That they're going to have to both go out to work, because what you're saying is it's no longer acceptable to try and scrape by. Have a bit of help with your rent and a little bit of help with tax credits, which gives you free dental care and prescriptions and all them sort of things for the lower income people. I just think that it's a way of saying that you can't stay at home and look after your kids anymore. You can't raise a family.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you want to look at it, because you can look at it in a slightly more dare I say it, naive aspect, in saying that what they're trying to do is trying to lift up the way of life in Britain by making sure that families that do have kids have better income, and obviously better income means a better life in a way. In a sort of capitalist goods and all the rest of it kind of way.
Yeah.
On the other side, of course, the problem with that is that not the fancy way of saying social cleansing, in the sense that you're too poor, so you shouldn't have kids. They are born into a slightly richer family, therefore they should be able to have kids. Because in the end, that is essentially what this is stopping people from doing. It's stopping people from being able to, first of all, do what they want, stopping people from having kids. Regardless of if you have to scrape by, some people don't mind that. Some kids and families say, well, we've got pittance, we're going to try and scrape by, we're going to do what we can. We're still trying to pay our way, but we can't quite get there. Therefore, government is supposed to be there to lend a hand to the most needy, to the ones that are trying to make it for themselves but can't quite get there, and therefore gives the family a helping hand. Now we are punishing that, instead of we're punishing the ability to try and get some sort of a living. Because if you weren't on a job and so forth, the government would give you more. But now that you're trying to make something of yourself, and you're getting your own job, you're trying to pay your own way, we're punishing that. That doesn't quite make sense to me.
And I do believe that raising your children is a personal choice, and no one should be forced not to raise their children if that's what they want to do. Because all studies show that uh, babies do suffer from separation anxiety. You know, babies that are breastfed longer, and I presume that is because of not only the nutrients but the closeness of bonding, that they do better and thrive better in school. They do better in exams and things like that. It's something that goes through life with them. You know, obviously not every woman can breastfeed, so I'm not, saying, if you can't, that you're doing your children, an in-service. But and I just wonder, and it's the same, even like social services say that they can go into hospitals and take babies because they know the damage that separation can do at a later age. So what you're saying is it's okay to put a child through that when it comes to earning money, as long as it's because you can earn money. And I mean, like David Cameron's, he said that every child must learn how to make a profit, before they leave school. Why? And then there was another Tory MP that had said that 62,000 or whatever it is not enough for them to raise a family on. And in 1911,
that's the cash for access scandals for people that might not know.
Yeah, in 1911, Parliament members got £400 a week or whatever. So we should stay in line with that and pay MPs 255,000 a year and no expenses. Just pay them that. Now, I tweeted him and said, all right, we've got a deal, but if we go back to like historical figures, the workers are owed £50 an hour, so you can have yours when the people get theirs. When we're on £55 an hour, we'll start talking about upping your wage, but until then, fuck off.
But you see, I mean, I get it. Britain does need a pay rise. MPs, dare I say it, right? There I do say it, MPs are underpaid for the work they are supposed to do. Now, they're not underpaid for the idiots that they've got in there, some of them, not all, of course. But that is because, they've got such an inroad into power and so forth that people will go in there and then suddenly they get all these offers of bribery and all the rest of it and corruption, which is exactly what it is. You can call it what you want, but it's corruption. And they suddenly start taking it because they've never had access to this much amount of money. And the power corrupts. So, I mean, the idea of taking away all the benefits and taking away the idea of, MPs having, what are they called, expenses instead of just a flat-out fee. I think I prefer, frankly, a flat-out fee because it's less corruptible. It's easy. Okay, here's your money. Do what the hell you want with it, as opposed to put this stuff that you may or may not be able to claim on the form and let's see what happens. It just becomes a lot fairer and a lot more just.
But
go on.
I think 250,000 is too much.
Oh God, yeah, no, I wasn't talking about that much money. I mean, that is clearly somebody that has been caught with their hands in the cookie jar, trying to justify the corruption that he was being charged. I mean, to put a relation on it, I mean, not the Guardian, the Telegraph and and Channel 4 dispatchers went in to investigate, obviously, the alleged corruption that was going on in there. And in the footage, the MPs gave in to the demands of the fictitious Chinese corporation immediately. The journalists in their account afterwards were saying that they thought that they were going to, have to negotiate some sort of figure, negotiate upwards and negotiate, that they were going to want more before they were going to settle for the corruption. But what happened was that they didn't. They automatically straight away said yes, and afterwards said it basically that it happens all the time. So can you imagine how many other forms of the cash for access scandal is happening in Parliament that we have no idea about? And then we wonder why our society is so screwed up. Well, that's one of the very reasons.
There is one way that I would possibly agree to them getting 250,000 a year. Well, there's two ways. One, they increased our wage with historic wages, or two, that they could not have any business interests.
They cannot have any what?
business interests. They couldn't work anywhere else. They couldn't like consult for this company or be on the board of that company. They were full-time politicians.
Agreed, but what would they do once they leave? Once they leave, I presume they'd be okay to do whatever they want.
Yeah, once they're not in power.
But that would still corrupt, because then someone could say, if I was a business and you're an MP, I could turn around and say to you, right, push this law through and I'll give you a really cushy job, double that wage, when you finish your term. There's still corruption there. You see what I mean?
Maybe you'd have to stop where they could work.
Well, I mean...
250,000 is a lot of money a year. If they manage to keep their seat, you know, like for one term, that's 4 years, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
you know, that
technically now.
If they manage to serve 2 terms, that's 2 million quid you just give them, right? They could at least commit 10 years to doing nothing else.
I think what should happen, personally, is that a minister, for example, because most of these corruptible ones are ministers, if a minister, say the Minister for Education, that person, when he leaves the job, will not be allowed to work in the educational sector afterwards.
Yeah.
Because that will then stop any business interest. Because if you're Minister of Education, no company is going to bribe you to talk about the economy or sport, because you have nothing, you have no say on that.
Yeah.
Of course, you still have the corridors of power, and you can still technically, but there's, I mean, you know, there's.
Because you only have to look in America at Monsanto.
Oh, that is a.
And like, it's just like from politics to Monsanto, Monsanto to politics. It's just they just switch that, don't they?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, America's really bad when it comes to this kind of stuff. Really, really bad. But that is an example. You know, the states are an example of how we don't want to end up. You know, if you want to know how we don't want to go, that is it. That is very much it.
Oh, America aren't happy with us actually. We're the friend that they can't trust at the moment.
We can't trust. They can't trust us.
Yeah, because we're cut defence. Because we're not investing enough in defence.
There's the one that has the NSA tapped Angela Merkel's phone, who I loved her reaction. They were going to dump the most treaties with the US because of that. Because they tapped the German Chancellor's phone. But that is untrustworthy, despite the fact that they are the ones that have the NSA. They are the ones that have been listening and sneaking and doing all this stuff behind people's backs for generations.
Oh, talking of the NSA, did you hear about Mumsnet?
Well, I heard of what they do, but not. Go on.
Somebody was saying, I can't remember, but like for MI5 and MI6 and GCHQ, they should start hiring spies from Mumsnet. I tell you, some of the mums come with some classic responses.
Wait, they should be or have been?
They want to.
Why?
Recruit from Mumsnet spies.
But why for Mumsnet?
Because they are worldly and they probably get away with a lot more. But you've got to think that the government have also said that they want like sections in the army that are going to deal just with like our opinions online, activists, posts and things like that, like trolls, paid trolls really. Just to actually sections of the army they want.
Really?
Yeah, and
There's something better to do, like dealing with all the wars they've started in the Middle East, or.
Well, you'd think, wouldn't you? But maybe that's why they want the Mumsnet mum spies as well. But they've got some classic response. Yeah. So, but that's what they do. I mean, they have done it for a while. When you get like some people arguing the toss, you never know whether they are paid or if it is somebody that actually has a point.
It's really quite sad, really. I mean, the government is so hell-bent on destroying the internet. But what's, I think, worse is that we always refer to the government as this evil corporation this evil promoter of corporate interest. When in reality, the government doesn't really exist. It's us. The government is made up of us, the people. So what it actually means is that there is a section of society that is hell-bent on giving all the power to a few people. and that has infiltrated the administrative system of the world, which is the government. Because the government, all it does is administers for us, the people.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. I mean, that's the thing that we're talking about also with regards to Google, for instance. That Google are now, with pressure of the US government, of course, and they want to change the way they govern the internet. Because, I mean, if there is a government for the internet, it'll probably be Google, if you were to sort of ask what it is. And at the moment, Google rank websites from how many backlinks and shares that site gets. Backlinks are obviously links from other sites onto that site, and then shares are obviously how many Facebook, Twitter shares, etc. that site gets, how many views they get, etc. Those are all factors that influence which site pops up on page 1 of a Google search and which site pops up on page 150,000 of a Google search. Now, Google want to, or are thinking of, changing that criteria to facts, or what they consider facts. What that means inherently is that Google want to effectively have the right to dictate what is factual and what is not. Now, considering that they are an American corporation, heavily influenced by the US government, that means that, for example, if you Google something about Ukraine, for instance, the Ukraine conflict, all you're going to effectively get is potentially propaganda from CNN, Fox, etc., because apparently that is factual, as opposed to anything that disagrees with the Western sort of hard line of things and talks about something else. So it's a really, really dangerous precedent because we don't understand. I think we don't realize how much Google actually owns the internet, and what Google doesn't want the people to see. The people won't see it.
But can you not just go and use like another search engine? After all, that's all Google is. It's a search engine. You can drop Chrome. You got Firefox.
Chrome is Google.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. You can drop that. Are they not in danger of annoying internet users?
They are, but I think they're so big that they don't think they can. In the sense that if you look at Google's usage, I think Google controls, what's it called, about 90% of the search engine market, if not more. And then Bing's the rest, and then there's Ask Jeeves and all the rest of it. But the trouble is the majority of people won't bother using another search engine because Google's so simple to use. It's not so much that you can't, because of course you can. You know, you can use...
would that simplicity really bother you if Google was messing around with your search results?
Well, first of all, it begs the question of how many people actually know this is happening.
Mm.
Because I heard about it today through Sputnik Radio, a Russian news network, which you may say, oh, that's discredited, you know, how is that relevant? Well, then if you Google it, eventually, after a couple of searches, news networks like The Guardian, all the rest of it, will have reported on it, but it's just been at the very, very back of all their search results. So technically, Google are actually already doing this.
Yeah.
So how many people actually know about this stuff? That is, I think, a more important problem, is that if you know Google are messing with your search results, then obviously you get angry about it. It's the same thing with the NSA. If we knew that the NSA were doing what Edward Snowden said they were doing, then we'd be more shocked and more horrified and more annoyed. But we didn't know. And how long will it take us to know? You know, will it take another leak to find out actually what Google is doing behind closed doors? Because in the end, they are the ones that dictate a lot of what happens on the internet.
Well, they are. But I can't remember the ins and outs of it, but maps is also really important. Controlling the maps. Maps.
Okay.
You know, like in the old days when you used to like draw them and map an area and things like that.
Yeah.
Maps were very valuable, and they still are now. Whoever controls like the map market controls a lot.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, we have been for a time researching on an alternative map of the world that we're looking for an artist now. An alternative map of the world basically tries to show you how the world would look like if colonialism hadn't happened. So how would Africa look like? How would the Middle East look like? How would North America and South America look like? And it looked like bloody different places. Colonialism destroyed so many cultures. And we've sort of half done the map, and there is a hell of a lot of research into it. We're doing it for about a year. So we're hoping to release in 2015 sometime. But you're right, control the white people that control the maps and all the rest of it do influence massively how things go. The National Geographic, they confirmed, for example, that they were going to include Crimea as part of Russia in future map publications. That, for a lot of people, automatically means that now Crimea, from now on, is part of Russia. Whether you agree with that or not is debatable, but that's what they're going to do. And obviously Google control Google Maps, so they also control what you can and can't see.
Well, there are places on Google Map, like on Google Earth, that are completely blanked out.
Yeah.
Buildings and that of security interest.
Obviously, they always have to do with the army for some strange reason, or the government.
It's International Women's Day on the 8th, so I was going to read this statistic to you. Right, women are half of the population of the world, working 2/3 of the world's working hours, receiving 10% of the world's income, and owning less than 1% of the world's property. Sorry.
That is ridiculous.
They own like 1% of property in the whole country.
That is insane.
And we think that, I always hear that we've got equal rights.
We're far from equal. I mean, we've still got a long, long, long road to go for any semblance of equality.
Obviously, in this country, we do have a lot of things a lot better than women in other countries.
Doesn't mean they can't get
better.
It
doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's equal.
Just because something's better doesn't mean we can't make it better.
Yeah.
Because something's better. I mean, yes, we've got a better life than Saudi Arabia. Doesn't mean we can't improve our lives even more. Doesn't mean we should stop fighting.
Talking of Saudi Arabia.
Sorry, I gotta go because I've got my colleague waiting downstairs.
All right then.
But I'll speak to you soon.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.